I really appreciate this great turnout today. See a lot of people I know. I see a famous person, Professor Evans Agnew, who's on our front page. How do you like being on the front page? It's a pleasure, I could tell, yeah. No, I really appreciate the audience this morning. I'm going to make the town hall just a little bit different than normal. Usually I talk about things that are happening, right now in the Chancellor's office or that have happened since the last town hall. I'm going to do a little bit of that, but I'm really going to span 4 years this morning. I'm not just going to talk about right now. I'm going to talk a little bit about 4 years, and I'll explain that as I go along. But first, I got to brag about this cool picture that I took on Sunday. I was over at Johnny's Dock for the first time. I'd never been there before. My wife got invited by one of her new friends. So I went out on the patio. I'm really curious. I looked places probably I'm not supposed to be looking. I went out on the patio, and I saw the W through the circle. I thought that was really cool, and our other W is right there. And if you look really closely, it's kind of dark in here. You can see a student walking up, or maybe one of you were walking up the staircase there. So if you're ever at Johnny's Dock, go out on the patio and take a look. Anyway, so what I plan to do today is kind of formal. Whereas I joined as Chancellor back in March 2015. So I'm just 2 weeks away from my 4th anniversary. It's amazing. Time goes so fast when you're having fun. And I completed an ARC 360, and I'll explain to you what that is, last fall. Therefore, what I would like to do this morning is kind of tell you a little bit about the outcome of that review. The outcome of that review is not completely done yet, but talk to you a little bit about that. And because of what that review means for me, then talk to you as kind of our family, the UW Tacoma family, the people who care and do the things that this university is all about. Talk to you about, if you leave me in this position, what you're likely to see over the next chunk of time. Because I think you'd better know that before any decisions are made about keeping me around or so. So anyway, I just want to have a personal talk with you about what I would like for that to be alike, and then you can judge what you think about that. And I want to do that by starting with a brief PowerPoint about the state of kind of where we are right now. I put a PowerPoint together a couple of weeks ago for the Board of Deans and Chancellors that came to campus, and a couple of people told me that was a good snapshot, and I can do it really quickly. So I thought I would do a version of that. I took a few slides out that I know you all know, but I'm going to do a quick snapshot of where I feel like we are right now, and hopefully you'll agree with where we are right now. And then we'll use that as a platform to talk about where we may be going over the next chunk of time, which I'll say 4, 5, 6 years, 3 years, whatever. These things aren't really well defined. Okay? So everybody okay with that? Are you sorry you came? Okay. I didn't talk about basketball, but I'd be happy to if you would like to. Yeah. Okay. All right, here's the short presentation. We were founded in 1990, and currently today, maybe not today, but last fall, on the end of September, we had 5375. We're really proud of that number, students. Beautiful campus, beautiful students, beautiful faculty and staff. A really distinctive thing of our campus is we are 93% from the state of Washington. That's good, and that's bad in some ways. We don't have a lot of diversity geographic on our campus. We do, because people come from all over the world and move to Washington, but we have 93.3% Washington residents on our campus. 77% are from what we call the South Puget Sound. Actually, the South Puget Sound could be a little bit bigger than Pierce, Thurston, and South King County. But we're about 3/4 from the South Puget Sound, and 25% of that is actually from King County, the bottom of King County. Here is another really cool statistic about our campus: is 56% of our students are first generation, first in their families to come to college. That's a number we're really proud of. It goes down over time a little bit, and we'll talk about that later. But the cooler thing is that the students come in really 2 different groups. The first group of students are our first time in college students. Those students, their time to degree is less than our non-first generation students. Somebody must be you, is doing a really good job with these students. So that's a really proud point for us on this campus. We've figured out what it takes to help these students. We're not all the way there yet, but we do a good job. Same thing for our transfer students. There's no difference. Our transfer students, when they come, if they're first generation, we've put in place the kinds of things that help them be successful, and they get through with college in the same amount of time. Also, we have the largest number of underrepresented students of any of the 3 campuses. We're twice the number of the flagship university and significantly higher than Bothell also. And another distinguishing factor is our military-connected student population. 18% of our students are military affiliated, and you all know that means veterans, active duty, or families of active duty. We're really proud of that. We have 22,594 alumni. After commencement, we'll have over 24,000, and by this time next year, which will be 2020 commencement, our 30th commencement, we'll have over 25,000 alumni. That's something to celebrate, something we're really proud of. Also, I've noticed that our effect over the 3 campuses is starting to grow. Lots of things have happened. A significant thing happened like my second year here when Professor Zoe Barnes was elected chair of the Senate, the Faculty Senate for the entire UW. That was very distinctive achievement for our campus. Likewise, this past year, the outstanding alumni veteran for the whole university was our own, Patty Taylor. She was also Seattle. She has 1 degree from here and 1 degree from there, but I was really proud to be a part of that, and I know a lot of you are part of that as well. Likewise, right now, we have Professor Kimma Cargill, who's a professor in SIAS. She is serving as the interim associate dean for academic affairs and planning for the graduate school for the entire UW. And the fact that the flagship campus is very highly graduate focused, PhDs, master's degrees, all the professional schools, to have a person on our campus as the associate dean doing a great job is fantastic. Likewise, last year when they named the outstanding Distinguished Service Award winner for the entire UW, that was our own Professor Rob Crawford, one of our founding faculty members, so that was a proud moment for a lot of us, hopefully for you as well. And then I myself, as Chancellor, get the opportunity to be the liaison for JBLM for the entire UW, so that's exciting for me as well. So I still like to brag about this because they haven't changed it. You know, the top 50 best college towns in America, the site's still live, you go look. And the first one that comes up is number 50, UW Tacoma. I hadn't done that in a long time, so go do it when you get back to your office. It makes you feel good. And you see a beautiful picture of Tacoma, and you can see why. But it also tells you why we're the top 50 best towns in America, best college towns in America. Likewise, if you go to the 50 most diverse campuses in America, right there at the top of the list at number 50 is our UW Tacoma. So that's pretty exciting as well. Now, that's not the only thing we brag about. We will also brag about these things. We won't let go of this for a while. It's a little bit old news, but we'll hang on to it a little bit longer. We were number 1 best bang for your buck among the Western colleges in 17. In 16, we were number 2 nationally. But that's a little bit, when you become number 1 in the West, that kind of trumps what you had before. Also, we're number 3 fastest growing master's granting public university in the nation. That kind of makes us tired because we feel that we're the fastest growing, one of the top 3 fastest growing, but that's exciting. We're also, I didn't know about this until about a week ago, the top 200 safest campuses in the United States. So thank you to our security folks and all the rest of you as well. And then we're continuously, ever since I've been here and for several years before I got here, we're designated a military-friendly campus. So all this is great. We do this with 7 schools and programs. This hopefully is the last town hall I have to say programs because they're all going to be schools. We finished all of that paperwork and questions, and that proposal is into the provost office. It's been approved, but it has to go to the Board of Regents now. But that is going to happen. But we have 7, I'll just call them schools. We have 7 schools. We'll get used to that. Here at UW Tacoma, you all know what they are. Interdisciplinary Arts and Science, our largest, the Milgard School, Social Work and Criminal Justice, Nursing and Healthcare Leadership, Urban Studies, the School of Engineering and Technology, and the School of Education. And through those schools, we have over 50 undergraduate programs, 12 graduate programs, and of course we have our doctorate program. A few things that everybody doesn't know is the MedX program. We have a couple things here on our campus that are system related. And the MedX program, which is a fantastic program if you want to be a PA, a physician's assistant, that is only at Seattle, Anchorage, Spokane, and Tacoma. They don't have it at Bothell, but we have a cohort here, and it has over 30 students in it. Also, the Autism Center on our campus is part of the UW's Autism Center globally. And most of you know this, but our social work and nursing programs are accredited as one program for the UW. We do this, it's amazing to me that we do this with 347 faculty and 333 staff. A lot of hard work by a lot of people, and that results in a student to faculty ratio of about 16 to 1, and we've maintained that over the 4 years that I've been here. It's going to be difficult to maintain that moving forward. We may need to creep up to about 18, but that's a discussion for another day. We also have significant centers. We have 3 research centers on this campus, and we're particular about naming things centers because you need to be. I worked at a university before who this was out of control. We had over 150 centers on campus, and there was no accountability for those. So we keep a tight rein on those here, and right now we have the Center for Data Science, the Center for, these are our research centers, the Center for the Study of Community and Society, and the Center for Urban Waters. And then we also have designated some other centers that aren't necessarily research centers, more pedagogical and social and engagement community centers, and that's the Center for Leadership and Social Responsibility, Business Analytics, the Asia Center, the Center for Brazilian Studies, the Institute of Global Engagement that's with our Global Honors Program, and our brand new, freshly launched Global Innovation Design Lab, just launched about a month ago. Let's talk a little bit about the physical plant. The physical plant is 46 acres. You all have seen it a million times. It's this red block was designated for UW Tacoma. We try to capture those properties when they become available. Right now we own close to about 90% of those properties, but we've only activated about a third of that total 46 acres. I think over time, there's going to be more pressure on us to activate it because look at what's happening around us. This giant hotel, the micro apartments, a new apartment and housing up here, this big retail development just southwest of our campus. The brewery district is being built right in front of us. So as this part of town increases activity and gets more thriving, it's going to put pressure on us to have something on our top of our campus as well, and we work on that all the time. It needs to be related to what we do, though, of course, so we got to figure out ways to activate the rest of our campus. If you want to get into a little more detail, there are 22 buildings that we own right now on this campus, about 1 million square feet of academic space. We have 50 retail restaurants or tenants across our campus with a significant operation that generates a significant amount of money. They pay all their bills and still have money left to contribute to the operation of our campus. We own Court 17, our first residence hall, and I'll talk a little bit later about what we hope to be a second residence hall. And our impact on this region is over $200 million a year ago, so it's probably $220 million now. And we're opening our first off-campus facility. When I say it is ours, but it's primarily Highline. It's a joint project with Highline, the City of Federal Way, and Federal Way Public Schools. But that's all set. We're just running into trouble with, not trouble, but it's taking longer to get the tenant improvements to the building so that it meets our standards to have students and people into that facility. So that's coming soon. Now let's talk a little bit about our students. And this is mostly students. You know, we brag about the diversity of our students, but look, they all wear purple t-shirts. But I looked at this before I came over here today and tried to find out people that we know. I saw Jeremy, he's easy to spot, and there's Ed. I saw somebody else just now. Is that Emmett right there? Oh, Brianna is up here with the paw on. She's easy to spot, yeah. Anybody else see themselves? You see yourself? Yeah. I don't, but... Okay. All right, enough of that. That's fun. So let's talk about our students. Okay, as I said before, our students come kind of crude, but in two chunks. Our first-time students, and you can see that this is where our significant growth has been, at least since I've been here. And I think since 2006, when they made it a four-year campus, that's where our significant growth has been with our first-time students. So in 2014, that fall before I got here, we only had a little over 400, and now we're up approaching 700 first-time students on our campus. So significant growth there. And the cool thing about that growth, the cool thing about that growth is the academic quality of those students has not reduced over that time. We haven't lowered the bar to get more students in here. We've worked with our communities to better prepare students in the South Puget Sound so they can meet the entrance standards of our university, and it's working, it's paying off. We're getting high-quality students over time, and our campus is growing. Likewise, the first-generation characteristics of those students remains high, but you would think over time, if one of your missions is to work with this region, with higher ed in this region, not higher ed, but K through 12 in this region, and bring up the college-going status of the region. We're much lower than the counties around us. We're like half of King County, what their college-going rate is. You would expect that if you're successful at that, over time, the percentage of first-generation students would decrease because they are parents. A lot of our students are already parents. So for our students that are parents, that we help them achieve a degree when their kids come here. Has anybody had kids of previous students yet? Anybody on campus? Yeah, Bonnie has. You have, yeah. So that's happening. So you're contributing. Now we know whose fault it is that this number is going down. Yeah. So anyway, that's natural. So we shouldn't worry about that. Likewise, the diversity of these students remains pretty constant. We've kind of reached a little bit of a steady state, so if we want to increase the diversity of our student body, we might have to work harder as we go forward. All right, now let's look quickly at the other students we attract, and those are our transfer students. I see Carl back. No, thought I saw Carl. There he is. Carl's back here. He knows this like the back of his hand. This is more work to get these same or lower numbers. The number of students graduating from two-year colleges in Washington has decreased a little bit. So we have worked really hard to remain a strong receiver of these students. And we have good relationships with our local feeder schools, but of course we'll let students in from all the two-year colleges over the state. Do we have a student, at least one student from every two-year college in the state, or is that too much to ask? We don't? Okay. Almost? No? Yeah, I'm putting him on the spot. That's not fair. That's not fair. Yeah, that's not fair. Maybe we should put that as a goal. We want at least one from every. There's like 30, right? 32 or something community colleges in the state. I get off track easily. So these two-year college students that come, also we've retained the high academic standards that we want as the University of Washington over that time, so we haven't lowered the bar either on our two-year transfer students. Likewise, our first-generation status of these students has remained strong. Now, in the non-resident students, that's a smaller number, so that's hard. We don't really concentrate on catering to first-generation students across the country, but I think if you do really well with your first-generation students here and your underrepresented students, then other students across the country will be attracted to a university campus that has done well with that. So you'd hope that would stay strong. And then also our diversity of our two-year transfer students is also remaining constant over time. So what does that mean? That means that over the past 4 years since I've been here, we've had strong enrollment gains, almost 20% over that 4-year period, or actually 5-year period if you look at the fall before I got here. But that is going to be harder to maintain over time. There's extreme competition for these students, and we don't want to pull a student in here that's not appropriate to come to our campus. If the student wants to go to UPS or UCLA or whatever, we should help them do that. But for those students that haven't made their decision, this is the place they can go. It's either here or no place else or nowhere else. If they are place-bound for family reasons, we need to help them get in here and be successful. And I think we've done a good job of that. If you look at these statistics, I've already talked about this earlier, but we maintain about 85% undergrad and 15% graduate, which seems to be real healthy for our campus. Maybe we could go up a few percent in graduate student programs if we push the enrollment a little bit. That's not a real important designation for me, but I think we should have a good balance. And I've shown these statistics before. We're very much like other colleges, about 53-47 female, male. I've talked about the non-resident, resident population. Those are the areas where I'm going to talk later about. I think we have a little bit of room for growth. And then our schools, our largest is SAIS and will remain our largest for a while. But SET and the School of Business are close behind. They're both about 15%. And when we do get the funding for the new Academic Innovation Building, we're going to be able to expand those two schools. So 5 years from now, we may have 3 schools that are 20% each of our population. So that's all exciting. We are doing well. Since last month, we've gained another $300,000 or $400,000. We're on track to make that. I always talk about that. And we also have a really strong endowment on this campus for the size of our campus, and we award quite a bit of financial aid and merit scholarships and those kinds of things. There's always room for us to do better with that, and we work on that around the clock. So, since I've been here, we've done this, except for the first year as we worked on the strategic plan, through having this umbrella strategic plan that I was going to use the word dictate, but I don't want you to think I'm a dictator, but guides. It guides us on how we make our decisions to move the campus forward. As I've talked about it before, I love our strategic plan. Our strategic plan is more, though, about our values and the kind of campus we aspire to have, and didn't really have specific initiatives or goals in it that we would work on each day to make sure we're achieving these values and these end goals. So it's been a little bit frustrating. We have this plan that everybody has embraced, but as a result of that plan that we all like, what is it that we actually spend our time doing? And the way I like to think about it is I spend about half of my time, I've always done this, helping enhance what we're doing today. We have students here, we have staff and faculty who work here. As your chancellor, I need to be spending a significant amount of time helping you be successful, helping our students be successful. So we do want you to go to your class and teach your class well and all those kinds of things. But then if somebody doesn't look at what's next, we'll get stagnant. We'll kind of taper off and get average, like that new commercial I keep seeing about, yeah, I'm okay, like the tattoo artist, he's like an okay tattoo artist and things like that. You don't want to just be okay. We want to stretch ourselves. So I think we should all be spending some of our time in our office thinking about what's next, getting this campus ready for the future. Yeah. How many of you do that? Do you do that? You do? Yeah. Yes. Do you do that, Joe? Joe does it. So the front row, the front is represented. How about you in the back? Are you? Patrick's shaking his head. Mike's, yes. All right. So we all got to do that. We got to think about the future. And if we're all thinking about the future in this way, that way, that way, that way, we're not going to go one direction. So we need to kind of agree on that future and paddle the boat in the same way. So that's why we have this strategic plan. But what we had to do with this strategic plan then is kind of decide on what things will take us that direction the quickest and which ones will have the most impact. So we decided on these 6 impact goals, and you all have seen these a million times, and I forgot to mention last time that they're now on the wall back here. You remember they used to be big on these side walls, but we needed to put this material up here that makes the acoustics better, and we couldn't put our banners on there, so Brianna or Brian or both helped us get some smaller banners that we could put across the back, and they look really attractive back there. Just turn around and enjoy that for a minute. Yeah. So there they are. So we have these 6 impact goals, and our first couple years of the strategic plan, we've made progress on those in kind of informal ways. And first, Kathleen and then Bonnie and now Joe have helped us put together these 1 year, our first year report of how we did. They are mostly, though, just, they're not specific measurements. They're just things that happen that are related to this goal. Yes, we plan to do these things, but we're not measuring as much as we want, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And then we put another one together after the second year of the strategic plan. So yes, we're making progress and we can measure that progress, but not as much as I would like yet. So what Joe has done this past year is helped you as a campus get better clarity of what it is we are doing and what, when I say we, the leadership team, the 10 people or so that report to me, and then I have some control over how they spend their days. We have put up here what our initiatives are, and also the initiatives that have come out of the Strategic Impact Fund, or the Strategic Initiative Fund, the SIFs. So those are up here, and we're talking about putting other kinds of initiatives up here as well. So you can tell what we're doing, and it starts to make us more accountable because everybody knows what we should be doing because they can look on here and see and read about what we're doing. So I like that. We're moving towards that. So you should be paying attention because we're going to move more towards this over time, and that's what I'm going to tell you in a few minutes. So the dashboard that's going to measure our progress towards these is still kind of in progress, but Joe did a great job showing us the beginning of it last November, I believe, and we'll get an update next November when I ask Joe to come up and present again. So that's kind of where we are now and how we've been moving forward. And all of this has kind of coalesced in this idea that was here before me, but this idea is really starting to be clear in my mind, and I don't know who made this. Bonnie, did you make this? You didn't make this? Joe, did you make this? Who made this? Wow, I wonder if I made this. Who? The Department of Energy made that. Maybe so. I don't know who made this. I really like it. Brianna, did you make this? Somebody's going to take credit for it, yeah.
I made it.
All right, there you go. Josh made it. Josh made it. So I really like this. What it shows me is our campus is working to bring these three major things together. The economic and cultural development that we do with our community, our urban serving focus, what we do with our students and including them in this campus, bringing them to a spot where we can expand their assets and move them forward in their lives and careers and so on and so forth. Faculty and staff can work here. It's a great place to work. They can achieve some of their dreams as faculty and staff on a campus like this. But we bring all those together in an integrated way to make our community more successful, make our students successful in a very thoughtful way. And I like that, and it caused us as a leadership team to put together this aspirational statement. I didn't want to change the mission statement or the vision statement in the strategic plan because we had worked on that so collaboratively over a year's period. So I'm not excited about changing that until we do another collaborative process. So we just called this our leadership aspirational statement. And I've been showing this to a lot of different people. I showed it to the Board of Regents. I showed it to Anna Mari and to our new provost, Mark Richards. I've showed it to you a couple times. I've shown it to the faculty. So this is our statement that kind of explains where we want to move our ship towards. We've explained what we want our ship to be like, and now where are we taking it? So this is an aspirational statement. Some key parts of it are this unique UW brand that our campus embodies, we define for ourselves. We're not just like Seattle. We boldly embrace these assets of our students. We don't, make our students measure up to what we expect. We bring students in that we know are going to be successful, and we embrace the things that are going to make them successful and help guide them along the way. We champion our faculty's public scholarship. We don't make them feel bad because they did that and tell them they didn't get enough publications or enough grant money. We ask them to do public scholarship, and we appreciate it. And we ask our students to embrace these civic-minded social justice principles that we've adopted, and we send them out into the world with hopefully those same principles. So, now, I did an ARC 360. Do you all know what a 360 is? where you ask other people to intrusively come into your life and tell you how you're doing on things. It's a difficult thing to do, but it's really healthy. So the way they do it at the UW for their executive team is there's an office in Seattle that helps organizational development, and somebody will be assigned to you, and they'll help you develop the questionnaire that goes to the people that you designate that are going to comment on you. So for somebody in a role like mine, they ask you to supply them names of people you work with, like on a daily basis or at least a weekly basis. And they ask you to have 40. They don't want 300 because it gets too much information and everybody's not going to ask. They want the 40 or so people you work the closest with. So then what they do is they send I tell those 40 people that they're going to be part of this. Well, I ask them if they want to be part of it. And they all said yes. And then they're part of it, and they fill out a pretty comprehensive evaluation of how you're doing in 11 areas that the UW holds dearly. You know, achieving diversity, making change, strategic planning, integrity, the normal things that you would want your people. You wouldn't want them to be a racist, a crook, and what's the other thing that what's that? Con man. Yeah, those aren't the three things that you look for in your leadership or anybody on campus. So anyway, I went through that in the fall, and it's very extensive. They give you back a report. It's about 50 pages long because they analyze it with respect to the people that report to you in that group of 40, the people that you report to in that group of 40, and for me, that was only one person at the time, the president, because Provost Boundless had already retired, and the new provost hadn't been here long enough to evaluate me. And then the people that you would call your colleagues. And that's difficult for my position because I really don't have colleagues per se in the same job here. My only person in the same job is Wolf from Bothell. So I had to kind of make my colleagues different individuals that I interface with at Seattle, like maybe Jeff Riedinger, who's the OGA Vice Provost, or Cheryl Cameron, who is the Vice Provost for Academic Planning and those kinds of things. So I had to find a few people like that. But I got all the people that report to me here, then all the people I work with in a major way, like our registrar, like our Assistant Vice Chancellor for External Relations, the few folks on this campus, some in this room, who served as interim Vice Chancellors or something. So anyway, kind of detailed description, but that's because it was a 50-page detailed description. Those people all evaluate you, and then somebody analyzes and meets with you, and then you make a plan to move forward, okay? So what did mine come out to be? Well, first of all, we'll talk about the good things. The identified strengths, and I was really happy about this, is governance and leadership. And this was across the board. The people that report to me, the people I work with, they thought we had developed good governance and leadership on this campus. When I first came, they asked me to improve the collaboration across the campus, so I made that a strategy and tried to work and bring more people into the decision-making of this campus. They also talked about communication. Maybe it's the town halls, but people appreciate knowing what's going on, that we communicate well, and I feel I failed a little bit in this. My blog has kind of crashed. They told me it would be hard for me to keep up a blog. They were right. So you all that told me you were right, it's hard to keep up a blog. I never sat still long enough to write a blog. I take pictures that I could use in the blog, but I don't have anything to write about those pictures. So anyway, that was good. And integrity, this made me feel good too. I try to live my life with integrity, and you all recognize that. So what you want to do is you want to expand on these strengths. You don't want to say, oh, I got that covered, and forget about it. So I need to get a plan together to expand on these strengths. But then I also need to get a plan together on the things where there's opportunity. And this is the UW's way of saying you need to step up in these other areas. They're areas of opportunity. So increase collaboration. And I think what that means, and I don't know who said all these things, but in the people that reported to me, I think one of the things I need to work with is getting more a joint decision-making process. That's hard to do. I'm not an executive like a CEO where I just tell people what to do. We have more of a collaborative process here, and this tells me I need to work on that better. I don't need to be bossing people around all the time, if that's how I'm seen. Another thing is this innovation, which you always get defensive about these things. I got a little defensive about this at first because I've tried to do a few things here that I thought were innovative, and the campus pushed back. So I backed off a little bit. But it's my issue. I need to work on that. So we need to think of the best practices and really push those kinds of things forward, which goes to this next thing. I got significant feedback that, Mark, when the campus decides something is good for it, you are our chancellor, you need to help us achieve that kind of thing. That's what those people kind of said there, which I see that all the time. I want everybody to be happy, and you can't have everybody happy. So, if we do a little more of this, possibly Joe or Joel are not going to be as happy if we push kind of the consensus, this is what we need to do forward. I don't want to get like a bulldozer, don't get me wrong, but we need to work on that. When I say we, I'm kind of involving all of you in that. So, if I move forward over the next period, this is what I would like to do. But please understand, this is what I would like to do. This doesn't mean Mark is going to do these things. It's always dangerous because when I put this up, these guys are capturing it, and it's going to be on the website, and people say, you said that you were going to do these things. So I can tell them to go back one slide, and I didn't say I was going to do these things. I said I would like to do these things, and we'll use the appropriate governance process on campus to decide which of these things we'll do. Is that fair? Okay. So these are the kind of things I would like to do. So first, in enrollment-related areas. This is what I would like to do, and I will work to get others involved with this. I would like to see that first-time enrollment continue to grow to match our transfer enrollment. That shouldn't be that difficult. We were at 50%. Remember, we were like 420, and now we're at, 810 or something? Not quite, no, 700 something. And now we're 70%. So we should be able to keep pushing on our first-time enrollment and get it up to where it matches our transfer enrollment. And I think when we do our engineering programs, we're going to get more transfer enrollment, which may raise that number up, which could make this a little more difficult. If the number over here that you're trying to catch is going up, it could make it more difficult, but that would be fun. That would be really fun. I can see Carl enjoying it as I speak. Yeah. And some of the people on Carl's staff. Okay, another thing, I'd like to increase international student enrollment to approximately 7.5. It's 5 now, and I know there's a lot that has to be done beforehand. People will say, right away, where are they going to live? Well, we just opened 104 new beds, a private developer right next to campus. I'm going to talk to you about a new residence hall soon. So we can do what's required. We need to expand our international student services. So I'm not saying do this with the physical plant and the resources we have now. I'm saying do this in an organized way and prepare yourselves to do this. All right. I would also like to increase out-of-state enrollment a little bit. Now, granted, what this would mean, look at what this means. If we are successful over the next 4 or 5 years and do something like this, we would go from 93.7 to 85.15. So we would have to get some direction from our state and the UW. Is that comfortable for people? I think it would be comfortable for people if the numbers of South Sound students doesn't decrease, and the numbers of Washington students doesn't increase, just maybe the percentage. If you're, you know what I mean by that? You all know your math, right? So I don't think we can go reduce the spots that we make available for Washingtonians or South Sounders. What do you call South? Do you call them South Sounders? Is there a word for people who live in the South Sound? Great? Okay. So if you do those things, you get your calculator out, you do come to 7,000. And this is really weird because I was really hit over the side of the head when I first got here because the late Deborah Friedman had that initiative 7 and 7, and it was 2013 when she started that, and she wanted 7,000 students here by 2020, which would be next fall. And people seemed to not like that and really told me that we need to halt, cease, and desist. So we kind of have. We've been more organized, but here I am now standing on this stage saying I'd like to be 7,000, but at least it's 2025 instead of 2020. And we're preparing ourselves, hopefully. So anyway, that's that. I'm going to get this slide off of here really quickly before anybody takes a picture. Okay, I want to maintain our first-generation student enrollment as a priority. It's going to be more difficult over time, but it would be nice if we could still make that a majority over time. So that might take us some work. We might have to look in the in the alley, under the rugs and things like that, but really work hard to make sure we're a welcoming place to our first-generation students. I also want to maintain our underrepresented student population. We should be able to do that because the people that are moving here as we grow, as families expand, I think the availability, the people, the natural people that are in the South Sound, this should be okay, but we'll have to make sure we're on task with that. And then I see no reason, unless somebody else does, to change our graduate-undergraduate mix. Maybe we decide to change that a little bit, but I don't really see a reason to do that right now. Okay, I better go faster. We're going to run out of time here. So our academic-related initiative, this is really dangerous to do without Dr. Purdy here. So somebody better take notes and tell her what I said that we were going to do. At least some of her deans are here. But I would like to finalize the process, and I know we're going to. I think that's almost done right now, the academic planning process. No, not the academic planning process. That's my next bullet. The programs to school process. That's almost done, but we got to follow through and get that done. I think the secretary of the faculty was here last week talking to the faculty about what that means. I want to secure the funding for the 2 new engineering programs, and I work on that almost every day with Michael Work and many of the rest of you. That is a heavy lift, but we are on it. I want to institutionalize that academic planning process that they've started and then start acting on it. And if we start acting on it, I would like to, and this isn't all up to me, we have an executive budget committee, we have a APPT. What's the committee that decides new programs and things? APPT? APCC. APCC, yes, APCC. I need to memorize what the words are so I can know the things. Yeah, so I don't get to decide all of this, but I would like to, since they've gone to all this trouble to help us decide, we need to open up that pipeline. So that's something I would like to do. Maybe a few more than one a year, but we got to have the resources. I want to continue to build out the faculty support and staff support for their traditional research and community engagement. We're working on that. And I would like the 3-year rolling average, this is for Teron and the rest of you, of our research enterprise to creep up maybe 50%, our 3-year rolling average. I'm not saying a step change and 50% more, but and if you increase the support for our faculty, it should be a natural occurrence. If you attract faculty that are inquisitive and want their students to learn in undergraduate research, this will be a natural occurrence. Also, I want to double the amount of activity generated through the Educational Outreach Office, and I would like to enhance our technology-enabled pedagogy on campus, and I think we got to jump start with the snow days. I hear from Jill and from Colleen and Patrick that a lot of people all of a sudden online learning wasn't such a bad idea for a week there. So I want to capitalize on it and move that forward. Okay, I'm going to have to go quicker. Programmatic, submit our application. We're really close. We're about a month and a half away. The editor has our application right now. It's really coming together, and thank you for all that have worked on that. We're going to celebrate that day we send it in. I want to complete charting our course. That's always been a major thing for me to get a strategic plan going and get it done. It's hard to get it done when it doesn't say what we're doing. It's more of a description. But I want to get to the end and then plan the next thing. I want to institutionalize assessment and measurement, the dashboard concept, and we're making progress, so maybe in a year or two from now we'll have that more institutionalized. I want to complete a master plan for our campus. Our old master plan is about 10 years old. We need that refreshed as we move up that hill at a more rapid pace. I want to plan and celebrate. We had such a good time. I walked in here at the 25th anniversary. I don't think we can get away with quite that big a party for the 30th anniversary, but it'd be nice to have something, because we got to enjoy these early birthdays, because then when you get older, you only celebrate 100 and 150. So we should go every 5 years from now. And we're working on like a suitable history project too. It's not completely defined. I would like to solidify that. Revise our partnership agreements. We have some partnership agreements that were penciled out when we were a younger campus. And they're not all exactly what they need to be now, but once you go into an agreement, they're hard to change. So I'd like to keep working on those with the Y, our daycare system, our student health service, so on and so forth. We need to always refresh those. And build a robust residence life program here on our campus, and that has to be a joint effort with all of us, particularly student affairs and academic affairs. Continue to develop staff council. Jeremy and his staff have been doing a great job but we need to continue to raise that so they have governance infrastructure very similar to what the faculty and the students have. And we're not there yet, but we're moving in the right direction. In equity inclusion, lots of things in here. Complete hiring of all the permanent staff. We made 2 great hires in the process of our 3rd one. Complete the campus climate survey, and we'll talk about that maybe at an upcoming town hall. But it's moving forward. We're finally going to get that thing launched this fall. And then also we want to act on what we learn. That's going to be key, and James will be talking more about that. I would like to continue to work on doubling our percent of faculty and staff of color working on this campus. I would like to expand the CEI. We've launched into that project. I don't think anybody in here has been not involved with talking about that or seeing that. If you haven't been, you've had lots of opportunities. That's moving forward, and we're going to learn about what the plan is very soon. Expand SEED. SEED is a program that's made a lot of progress on our campus, but it's small. We need to enlarge that if we're going to do that kind of thing and make it even bigger, give all faculty access to that. And then I don't know if all of you know, but James, Dr. Mache, and Dr. Purdy earlier this year got us involved, us leadership team, so there's 20 of us, all the vice chancellors and the faculty leaders on campus and some other folks involved in a USC Equity Institute, and we've been in this now for I think 5 weeks, maybe 6 weeks, but it's an 8-week course. We meet for an hour and a half on Friday, and we zoom in to our instructors who are all over the United States, and we learn, we discuss, we talk, and it's going to end in us putting together some equity inclusion projects that we commit to as a leadership team, and when we decide what those are, we'll put those up on our initiative list as well. So that's all in that area. Ty, I got your page now. So we want to establish a comprehensive budget planning that's transparent, that's collaborative and clear, and we're working on that as we speak. Every day we work on that, but that is a big lift as well. We also want to establish this idea that we have a little margin. What's happened at UW Tacoma is over time we've kind of spent down our reserve, and now we're not adding to the reserve in the same way we used to. And if we're going to continue to do projects, we need kind of operating cash to do that. So we got to get this margin back up. So it's hard to balance. We have to build the reserve budget, so those 2 things are connected. And I also want to add to the pie through our auxiliary enterprise and our educational enterprise. Those organizations are fantastic organizations, and they exist for community engagement reasons, but they also exist because they can contribute to the bottom line of our campus and free up some additional funds that we don't normally have. All right, so the last thing is I want to tell you about the physical things, and it's best to do that with a picture rather than words. So you all know that we are going to have a new academic building. The state just doesn't know it yet, but I know they're going to vote on that, and we are going to have that soon. And I don't know where it is on that little triangle, but it's going to be somewhere there. Monday, we're having a really key meeting to kick off, we hope. We're going to discuss this, our second residence hall. And what CLT there is cross-laminated timber. And this building we've committed to do out of cross-laminated timber. I've talked to you about that before. It's a very environmentally acceptable, sustainable way to move forward. Once we start doing that, I would like to have several of these kinds of facilities. So we need that sooner rather than later. So we're kind of going to fast track that. Also, Ty and his staff are working on some additional flat parking spots. This is not a new parking garage, but we hope it to have a surface parking lot or lots soon. And I've talked to you already about our Snoqualmie Tioga project. That's moving forward. I want to get that done over the next year or so. I want to get the old Tioga. It bothers me every time I walk by there. I walked by there this morning. I really want to get that thing remodeled and fixed up so it looks like the rest of our campus. But that's a lot of money. Same thing. And once we get that done, then it's going to bug me every day to walk by the Swiss. Not the Swiss itself, but above the Swiss and next door. We own all that, and it's not deployed. The Swiss is in there and almost nothing else. That space is vacant, but very expensive to remodel and bring up to standards so we can put students or you in there. Also, to complete these purchases, we've made an offer on that, and it's moving forward, and hopefully soon I'll be able to tell you that's all sealed up and we own that property. We don't know if we're going to be able to offer on that yet, but the idea of these red marks is continue to buy that property when it becomes available, and that's why we need some reserves. And then this last thing is probably going to get me in trouble, but I would like to have, and I hope Josh agrees with this and his staff, is some additional markings so people know they're at the UW-Tacoma. And that's a little controversial because we also want it to be seamless. So it's kind of a quandary, you know what I mean? When you drive down the hill and you see the W, you definitely know you're coming to the UW, but we also want people to feel like they're in Pacific Avenue or they're downtown Tacoma. So we don't want to do anything that would be barriers, but it would be nice to have a little bit more markings. And for sure you don't want me, the one in charge of deciding what they are. I just used W's because they were easy. And maybe even a statue of a dog. Maybe. We'd have to see if that matches. But more so people know they're on a UW campus. So that's all I have to say. That was a lot, but I thought because we're coming to this key point, you need to know what I'm up to. Any questions? Yes, Bonnie. Professor Becker, sorry.
Hi, thank you, and thank you for giving us some of your sort of thought process of where we're going. Given the statement about access and excellence, something that I didn't see that I was looking for was a little bit more about student support. So you mentioned the build out of the two buildings, but around sort of learning commons and advising and TLC, it would be great if in that list was some more about sort of supporting the students that are here.
Yes, and thank you, Bonnie, and I'm glad you went first because I needed to say this. I know anytime I make lists like this, people are going to say, what about me? Well, I started on my presentation. When I decided to do this, it was just about a week and a half ago, and I only have limited time to work on this. So I thought of all the things that were kind of front and center, but there are a lot of other things, and what or Professor Becker, what she just mentioned, is very important. And obviously, as we move the campus forward, we have to build the support structures or expand the support structures that exist for our students and the spaces that serve our students. So yeah, that will definitely be part of this. So thank you for mentioning that. Under each one of these things are probably several other things. Other questions, comments? Was this helpful? Okay, good. Anybody asleep? How could I make you talk more? Yes, there's a question. Can you go over to the... Here's one.
Or turn around. Oh, I don't know. Just that last bit with the map, I look at all the green space above. And in any of the discussions of campus planning, is there discussion of maintaining some of that green space into the future?
Yes, we talked about this yesterday. And this is a quandary, too. If I could, I probably could. No, I think that academic innovation building is, it's permanently there. See, I'm so confident on that, I've put that little yellow square permanently there. But underneath that yellow square is some really nice green space. And what Dr. Minkler has talked about is if we do indeed, if that building is flatter rather than tall and takes up a lot of that, we probably have an obligation, when I say probably, I think we do have an obligation to create some additional green spaces other places because we don't want to have a completely urban campus without the appropriate amount of green space. So yes, thank you for doing that. That's why I'm really eager to have the master plan because as we put these buildings in, they're pretty permanent. Look at the building we're in right now. Well, this building actually isn't that permanent because it was just a tin shed, but the buildings next door have been here over 100 years. So hopefully these buildings we put up are going to be here over 100 years. So thanks for putting that in there. Ty, did you hear that? Okay, good. Any other question? Come on, we have another 2 minutes. He's coming.
Thank you. I love the idea of having the parking lot up in some of that green space. It's possible to do more of that. Maybe put another one on the other side of the campus up there or something. Parking's an ongoing issue that's not going to be solved by just adding, 50 or 100 spots, especially as we continue to grow, our campus and we get to 7,000 in 2025. If we don't plan that infrastructure now, we're not going to have that problem solved.
You're exactly right. And there is a parking plan in place. It's like the chicken and the egg, obviously. The parking plan is part of auxiliaries. We can't use students' tuition. I guess we could use students' tuition, but I doubt it. We need to pay for our parking from our parking income, primarily. I mean, there's a little wiggle room. So we have to build parking that we can afford to build. So it should be, though, that as we increase the student population, we increase the income to the university, we are deliberate about putting parking to match that. Or other things that we do is our transportation plan, do things that encourage people not to bring a car to campus. Because in the state of Washington, I think that's important. It should be important everywhere, but for sure our administration of our state would encourage that. So that's part of our parking plan too, our transportation plan. And if you go to the website, you can find some of those plans. We have been thinking about that. So thanks for asking that. We got time for one more. Well, have a donut on the way out and enjoy the rest of your quarter, and I'll see you again soon. Thank you.